Welcome to Resilient Minds 365, where we discuss the resilient stories of entrepreneurs, professionals, and students with mental illnesses to encourage you to strive, thrive, and live in abundance. I'm your host, Cleone Crawford. Welcome to another episode of Resilient Minds 365. I'm your host, Cleone Crawford. Well, guys, we have a wonderful guest with us today. We have Deborah Leblanc with us. Who is Deborah Leblanc? Well, Deborah Leblanc, hailing from Lafayette, Louisiana, is a certified clinical hypnotherapist, NLP practitioner, therapeutic imagery master, and MER practitioner. With a transformative approach, she helps individuals and corporations overcome limiting beliefs, enabling success and joy in their lives. A renowned international speaker, Deborah is also an active paranormal investigator for over 30 years. Formerly an executive in the oil and gas industries, she founded and grew a pioneering fuel logistics company. Passionate about making a positive impact, Deborah founded Literacy Inc. and authored 16 best-selling novels. Her message of hope and commitment to turning it into reality resonates worldwide. You can learn more about Deborah and all of her endeavors at mindpaththerapies.com. With that said, I now present to you Deborah Leblanc. Deborah, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Cleone. That's the problem with being as old as I am. Your bio gets to be too long. I'm an old broad. It just adds up.
Right. No worries, no worries. So Deborah, can you tell us a little bit more about your profession? What is it that you do, and how did you get started?
Oh, my word. The journey to getting here, I am a certified clinical hypnotherapist, and there's a difference between a hypnotist, a hypnotherapist, and a clinical hypnotherapist. A clinical hypnotherapist has a lot more training, typically with a bachelor's in mind-body psychology. I spent 2,400 clinical hours. So what I do very seriously. It's a lot of people still have misconceptions about what hypnotherapy is. They have a vision of this pendulum swinging and, somebody making you quack like a duck. I promise I have never made anyone quack like a duck. But the reason I got involved with it, I was in corporate America for a long time. I got there through trial and error. I came from an abusive background. I was raised by a single mom from about 8 years old till 16. My parents split up. My mother was verbally and physically abusive. And being the oldest, I had a brother, he's passed, bless his soul, and in the last couple of years. And my baby sister, I would protect them from her outburst. So I was her beating post. And in Louisiana, unless it's January, late January, February, you might get around 40 degrees, 30 degrees. But other than that, it's hot and a lot of humidity. I went to school, even with all of that, with long sleeve shirts and pants, because I didn't want my bruises to show. My mother didn't hit with her hands. She used things like broomsticks, the back of a hairbrush, whatever she could get her hands on, and she would let her fury out like that. I got married at 16, had my first child at 18, and it wasn't until, I started catching on probably about 17, 18 years old that I had married the male version of my mother. He wasn't physically abusive. He wasn't, but verbally emotionally abusive. Well, I'm Cajun. Of course, I was born and raised Catholic. So you have guilt, family, that's all that matters. You did it, you married, you're stuck. I had two other children, two other daughters, and finally realized, I've got to do something with my education because this man could not hold a job. And I did not want to be on welfare like I'd grown up. I was back in those welfare days, they had the food stamps that were made out of paper. There were different colors for different denominations. They didn't look like a credit card, like they do today. I didn't want that for my children. I wanted to give them every opportunity life had to offer. So went back to school, got my bachelor's in marketing, did get a job in the oil field industry in transportation. Within a short period of time, I became the first female executive vice president of transportation in the US. I was with the company for 12 years, left the company to form my own fuel logistics company, which didn't exist anywhere in the world. I didn't even have a benchmark to work with, but I understood fuel. I understood the transportation of fuel and understood how retailers were being taken advantage of. So I put together a team of IT people because all I knew about computers was how to turn it on. I put a team of IT people together, told them what I wanted, and I was able to create a program that could tell by throughput what a pump would pump out per hour when that tank would need the next load of fuel, up to 2 weeks in advance. So that business ran for 25 years. I had a wonderful group of people working for me. And then lightning struck. I lost my 3-year-old granddaughter to it's similar to SIDS, but it affects children 3 to 5 years old. And her mother called me, which was my youngest daughter, called me hysterical. I couldn't even understand what she said over the phone, but I heard the name Amelia, which was my grandbaby's name. And I just took off for her house, which was not far. And I walked in and I saw this baby laying on a pillow on the living room rug, and her mother was hysterical. And I said, "Did you call an ambulance?" And this is the type of person I am. When there's a crisis, I'll act and then fall apart later. Okay. So I'm getting to this baby and I see she's not breathing. Her lips are blue. Her little fingertips were already turning dark. I tried mouth to mouth. I did fingertip compressions, told my daughter to recall the ambulance because she said she'd called them 40 minutes ago. I said, it's unacceptable. And I'll tell you the cruelest joke that I think the universe or as a whole has is when you're giving mouth to mouth to an infant and you see their little chest rise and fall with your breath. There's a flicker that maybe they're doing it on their own until you stop breathing for them. Well, of course, she was pronounced dead at the hospital, and that destroyed it. It's like my soul was ripped in two. 4 months later, her mother died in a fiery car crash.
My goodness.
She lost control of a vehicle into the side of a building, and the vehicle burst into flames. I didn't even get to see her in a casket. Of course, it was a closed casket. A year later, I lost my middle daughter to alcoholism. She had been in rehab twice, was doing really great the second go round, and then her sponsor committed suicide. When that happened, she nosedived. My oldest daughter and I would take turns every day, making sure she was on track, she was doing okay, and we could see her spiraling down. And it just happened one day. It was my oldest daughter's turn. She said, "Mom, I'm taking her to the hospital. The ambulance is picking her up. She was unconscious. Well, she never woke up. She never woke up. So a year following that, I lost my father. A year after that, my younger brother. Now that's all within a 5-year period of time.
Wow.
I stopped and I just stopped and looked at my life, and I said, I was in major depression. I was clinically depressed. I did attempt suicide. I went to a hotel. This was after my granddaughter and my youngest daughter died. I went to a hotel. I had a bottle of a freshly refilled bottle of Ambien for a 3-month supply. So that was 90 tablets. I had a 122 milligram tablets of Xanax. And to top it off, I went to the drugstore and bought 2 boxes of Benadryl because, again, that was an antihistamine. I knew that was going to just make me sleepy. I took everything. I left a note for housekeeping. I had left a note for my company, people at my company, about what to do to my family. Took everything, had a picture of my baby girls in my hand and a little yellow butterfly that was knitted for me, and went to sleep. 14 hours later, I woke up and I said, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you kidding? Now, taking this into mind, after all the abuse I went through as a child, at 13, I attempted suicide, taking every prescribed medication my mother had. And at count, I was at 400 pills. I again went out, had a doctor who came to the house, gave me a shot of Demerol because he thought it would have something to do with my starting a menstrual cycle. I woke up 3 days later. I woke up 3 days later. Well, after the second attempt, I said, okay, all right. God does not want me now. This is not time for you to go home. I said, what is the point? What do you work to bring home a paycheck? I was providing for my children. What do you want from me?
Mm-hmm.
And 2 things came to mind. A dream I had as a child was to be one of 3 things. I wanted to be Superman, a nun, or a psychiatrist. Well, by this time, I knew Superman was out of the question and a nun was out of the question. So I'm looking at psychiatrists and I said, Lord, by the time I got through with school, they're going to be putting a tombstone over my grave. Okay, I'll be that old. Mm-hmm. So I looked. I was actually at the computer looking for how much fill dirt would it take to cover a mile stretch of road this many feet wide. In that Google search, the first thing that popped up was HMI, the College of Hypnotherapy. And I went, what? How are they going to tell me how much gravel I need? I clicked it and that was it. My radar went up, my little instinct radar went up, and I jumped in it feet first. It came so naturally to me that it was like I had done it before, and I saw the impact and see every day the impact it makes on people's lives, people who've lost hope for so many reasons, and sold my company, got out of the business world, sold my company, and started Mind Path Therapies. That's how I got to where I am today. So God, people that attempt, and I travel around the country. I did for a long time, talking to high school students about suicide. And, there are only about 1% of people who jump off the Golden Gate Bridge that survive. And out of that 1% that survive, all of them say the same thing. When they jumped, the problem they were jumping for seemed this small compared to what was about to happen. Now, sometimes, you know, suicide people are, your pain is far greater than anything you can see around you, you know? But there is a purpose, I believe, for everybody's life. There's a reason why our journey has bumps in the road, sometimes big divots in the road, you know? Sometimes you're on the mountaintop and sometimes you're in the valley. And you just keep one foot in front of the other, one foot in front of the other. And if we just there to listen, and if I have any way in my training to help somebody be the ears and have a technique that can help them feel hope, that's my life's worth. That's my journey. So I went through all of that to get here. I truly believe that.
Cool. Wow, what a story. What a story. So I guess in regards to your mental health diagnosis, you would call you would say that you suffered from clinical depression and suicidal ideation.
Yes. Yes.
And what year were you diagnosed?
I believe it was, I don't want to miss, let's see, we're 23, maybe 2014.
Okay. Okay.
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay.
And I spent some time inpatient, of course, because of the suicidal ideation. But when I came to realize what my purpose was, life just changed for me, you know. I did eventually remarry to an absolute perfect man. The perfect for me. We've been together for 14 years. He's the love of my life. And I keep telling him he's the life in my life. And, you know, so helping others, loving this man and my daughter, still having my oldest daughter, is my life. It's as simple as that. I don't complicate it anymore. I don't need to have great riches. I don't need to make $10,000 an hour. I don't need, it's not about stuff. It's about touching other people's lives.
So would you say your current profession is what helped you to come back? What am I trying to say? Maybe I'll ask this question. So maybe you can tell us about your mental health story of resilience, what you had to do to overcome, and how your current position as a mental health hypnotherapist helped you to get to where you are from where you were as an inpatient, and dealing with a narcissistic husband and dealing with all that you dealt with. Maybe you can just walk us through that journey.
Well, as I grew older, I realized I didn't have any sense of remorse or regret about not having the typical mother, you know. I just somehow knew I was supposed to take care of this woman and protect my two siblings. So and when she passed away, I mourned her. I did. I cried. I cried because our love wasn't enough to keep her to, you know, because all she wanted to do was die. That's it. That's all she wanted. But after the deaths, after the first suicide attempt when I was 13, no one ever knew that. My mother never knew. No one knew at what I'd done. I put all the pills bottles back after I took them all. I didn't want this big movie scene, you know, where there's bottles all over the place and, now we had to pump her stomach. I didn't want anybody to know. So that was a non-zinker. It wasn't known. My second attempt, I told my therapist, you know, what I'd done, and they put me inpatient. And, you know, inpatient just keeps you at the facility I was at anyway, really did not do me a lot of good other than keep me secluded,
Right.
and safe. Once I got out, of course, I realized what I'd done. I realized God wasn't ready for me. Whoever is beyond the great beyond, when we close our eyes for the last time, it was a matter of I needed purpose now.
Yes.
I needed to find a purpose. And I knew business was it felt unimportant. It felt, I'm bringing in a paycheck, but to what end? Okay. I was helping my daughters before. Now, who am I? What am I? What is my purpose? Just to run this? No, it felt wrong in my gut. And when I hooked into hypnotherapy, I felt alive again. I felt alive again. That's the biggest help that it gave me. And I did, there's a form of, it's a methodology sometimes used with hypnotherapists who are also psychologists. It's called EMDR.
Oh, okay.
I traveled to Chicago to visit a doctor there who did EMDRC, which is being able to, you not only connect to the trauma and get past it, but communicate to the ones that are gone. And I wanted to see what this dude was about. So I went, and both my current husband and I were there for 2 days. And 2 hours a day, we had EMDR therapy. And my life changed from that day on. It did. It changed.
Amazing.
I was able to see clearly. My heart still has holes in it. Don't get me wrong, because that time does not heal it. Heal to me means it's scabbed and look, nothing's there. It reduces the sharpness of it, I can look at pictures of my daughters now, my granddaughter, and videos, and not just break down and feel so tormented. I can smile at the little, because my granddaughter was also what's the word, just flew over right over my head. She was on the spectrum.
Oh.
Yeah, so she never spoke a word, but she didn't have to. You could tell by her actions and her eyes, beautiful blue eyes, what she wanted, what she needed. And autistic, that's what I was looking for.
Yes.
And I still have that longing in my heart, but I believe, I trust somewhere, somehow, someday, live this lifetime, another lifetime, whatever, that maybe I'll see her again. Maybe. I was so close to that baby, and I've got 3 other grandchildren, but this child was so special to me that it felt like my soul was being ripped out of my body.
Yes.
When she died.
Wow.
So I hope I answered your question succinctly.
Did.
Okay,
yes.
Good.
Definitely, you did. So my next question to you is, so what did you have to do to overcome or bounce back from your low points? List all resources that were helpful to you.
I had to be willing to see a therapist.
Okay.
And of course, be willing to go into inpatient, be willing to see a therapist, be willing to take antidepressants so that to try to help me out of this. And that was basically the remedy, and I kept searching for other things. I kept reading about life after death, near-death experiences. I would, because I'm an avid reader, and I just and I prayed a lot. You know, that's my faith. I just prayed a lot. Sometimes for me, there's only one place left for you to go when you've turned to every direction you know how. It's just falling to your knees. And that's it, you know. And trusting that whether you believe in Buddha, Christ, Captain Crunch, I don't care who, just turning to that and just saying, I need help. I need help. I know I'm not in control.
Right. Okay. So my next question for you is, what are 3 things you wish you had available when you were at your lowest point?
My children back.
Yeah.
My children back. My children back. Those are the 3 things that I wish more than anything. I would be lying if I said anything else. That's what I wished at my lowest point. To me, the only thing that would cure it would be to have that baby, holding that little girl in my arms again, seeing my daughter, my daughters again. That's all you want. I had all the resources I needed, you know, outside therapist and blah, blah, blah. But really what you want is what you're missing, what you lost.
Okay.
So if I'm to answer that question honestly, I'd have to say that.
Your children back. Okay, that makes sense. And what words of hope can you give to our listeners? What would you tell them for someone who is struggling with suicide, or someone who's been in your position before?
Anybody that is struggling with thoughts of suicide, trust somebody. If you can trust anything, trust these words. I understand that the pain sometimes is bigger than any hope or no hope. I understand that that's the size of that pain. But trust the fact that when you do, say somebody uses a gun, which I would never do. I would never leave my family that mess. Would have never done that. But uses a gun. You can't take it back. But in that split second, you're going to wish with all of your might, soul, heart, mind, body that you had not done it.
Yeah.
This is a small blip of time. And there is so much more of life waiting for you. This is a small blip. And sometimes our journeys are rough, but there's a reason for it. There's a reason we go through rough times. You come out the other side. Just breathe deep, take a deep breath, and tell yourself, remind yourself, your innate self, I am worthy of being alive. The rest of the garbage that you're hearing, bullying, whether you're getting junk from parents or whatever it may be, those are lies. You were born unique, beautiful, creative, and for a purpose. And just know that that point that you're at right now is just a small blip in time. Take a breath, breathe through it. Don't do it. Because when that second flashes, you can't take it back.
Yeah.
Some of us can't take it back.
Right. Love it. Okay, so now we're going to take a switch into the interview a little bit. And as you can see on my virtual background, there's a book where it basically says The Music of My Life. That book is basically about my journey with music therapy and bipolar disorder. So with that, I would like to ask you, what type of music do you like?
Oh my gosh. I love all kinds of music.
Okay.
Really. The only thing I can't handle is jazz, because it's a little like in my brain, what happens is the discords in jazz sound like clatter to me. You know, it doesn't sound like music. It sounds like musical instruments clanging against each other. So, and I don't know why that is, but any kind of music. I love gospel. I love country and western. I love pop. I love rock. I love R&B. Oh, I love R&B. I listen to rap, clean rap. I don't go for trash rap. Just anything that'll Cajun music, Zydeco music,
Cool.
anything that'll get your feet moving.
Love it, love it, love it. So if you were to think of a song that best describes your journey, what would it be and why?
The song would be Stand Back Up.
Stand Back.
And it's I heard it the first time. The name of the group escapes me right now. The woman that sang it, dang it. Well, Stand Back Up is basically about life knocking you down, knocking you to your knees, knocking you, to your black and blue. But no matter what you do, when you're basically telling life, no matter what you do, I'm going to stand back up. I'm going to stand back up.
All right. I was looking to see if I could find who it's by, but apparently this song is a few different people who sing it.
It starts with an S. The name of the group.
Sugarland?
That's it. Yes, Sugarland. Yes.
Okay. All right. Cool.
Yes,
awesome.
That was it.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. So how can we stay in touch with you? What are your social media handles?
Oh my gosh, I have no clue. You can find me on Facebook at Mind Path Therapies, D as in Deborah, and L. I think if you just type into social media Mind Path Therapies or Deborah Leblanc, you'll find me. I also have an author website. So you don't be surprised if that pops up. My books pop up. I have 16 novels, but they can keep my email address is Deborah@mindpaththerapies.com. If anybody just wants a shout out and say, hey, I heard you on Resilient Minds. I'd like more information, whatever. Or just say, hey, I'm in the boat. I hear you. I heard you. I'm with you.
Yeah, love it, love it, love it. Well, Deborah, you've been definitely a pleasure to have as a guest on our show. Thank you very much for coming on the show and sharing your journey with us.
Thank you so much for having me. I wish you great success in every endeavor, and hopefully we'll get to meet again sometime.
Awesome, awesome. And to all you resilient minds out there, until next time, please subscribe to us on all our platforms. And please don't forget to rate the show and leave a review for us on Apple Podcasts. Also, join the community of resilient minds and sign up for our monthly newsletter at cleonicrawford.com. Be sure to grab a copy of my book, The Music of My Life, on all Amazon marketplaces to get to know me better. If you can think of one person that will receive value from today's show or connect with Deborah's testimonial, please share it with them. Feel free to take a screenshot of this week's episode of the podcast and tag us on Instagram. You can tag myself at Only Cleone or Resilient Minds 365, and today's guest at Mind Path Therapies DL. And remember, Facebook, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, on all kinds of stuff. And remember, mental health is not a death sentence. Despite your illness, you can thrive, and live a life of abundance. Until next time, I'm Cleone Crawford, and I'm signing off.